what we have learned yesterday. So it is very, very, very hard to break your current habit and build a new one. But how to take control, how to control, how to control ourselves to uh, stay away from the bad habits and how to build new good habits. This is only we can do by changing our environment. And there are many illustrations which we had studied in chapter summary also. Now, as you know, yesterday also I said the next topic. Make it attractive. That is first chapter. Chapter number 8. How to make a habit irresistible. In the 1940s, a Dutch scientist named Nico Tenberian performed a series of experiments that transform our understandings of what motivation is. Tim Berners, who eventually won a Nobel Prize for this work, was investigating herring hulls, the grey and white birds often seen flying across the seashore of North America. Adult herring gulls have a small red dot on their beak, and Timber noticed that newly hatched chicks would pick this spot whenever they wanted food. To begin one experiment, he created a collection of fake cardboard beaks, just a head without a body, just a head without a body. When the parents has flown away, he went over to the nest and offered them a dummy beaks to their chicks. Dummy beaks to the chicks. The beaks were obviously fake, and he assumed to the baby bird would reject them altogether. However, when the tiny girls saw the red spot on the cardboard beaks, they beaks they picked away just as it is were attached to their own mother. They had a clear preference for those red spots, as if they had been genetically programmed at birth. Soon Tinberg discovered that the bigger the red spot, the faster the chicks picked. Eventually, he created a box with three large red dots on it. When he placed it over the nest, the babies went crazy with delight. They picked up the little red patch as if it is the greatest big that has ever seen. Timberg and his colleagues discovered similar behavior in other animals. For example, grey glue grey leg goose is a ground nesting bird. Occasionally, as the mother moves around on the nest, one of the eggs will roll out and settle on the grass nearby. Whenever this happens, the goose will waddle over to the eggs and use it to break and neck to pull it back into the nest. Tinberg discovered this that the goose will pull a nearby round object, such a billboard ball, a light bulb, back into the nest. The bigger the object, the greater their response. One goose even made a tremendous effort to roll a volleyball back and sit up on the top. Like the baby girl automatically picked at the red dots, the grey lug goose was followed in an instinctive rule. When I see a round object nearby, I must roll it back into the nest. The bigger the round object, the harder I should try to get it. It's like a brain of each animal is preloaded with a certain rules for behavior. When it is when it come across an exalted version of that rule, it lights up like a Christmas tree. Scientists refers to this exaggerate cue as supernormal stimulus. A supernormal stimulus is a heightened version of reality, like a big with red dot or an egg the size of a volleyball, and it's elect a strong response than usual. Humans are also prone to fall for exaggerate version of reality. Junk food, for example, drive our reward system into an frenzy. After spending hundreds of thousands of years hunting and foraging for food in the wild, the human brain has evolved to a place a high value on salt, sugar, and fats. Such foods are often calorie dense and they were quite rare when our ancient ancestors were roaming that savannas. When you don't know where your next meal is coming from, eating was eating as much as possible is an excellent strategy for survival. Today, however, you live in calorie-rich environment. Food is abundant, but your brain continue to carve it like it is a scare. Placing a high value on salt, sugar, and fats is no longer advantageous to your health, but the carvings persist because the brain reward center have not changed for approximately 50,000 years. The modern food industries rely on stretching a, our palatic instincts beyond their evolutionary purpose. A primary goal of a food science is to create products that are more attractive to consumers. Nearly every food in a bag, box, or a jar has been enhanced in some way, if only with additional flavoring. Companies spend millions of dollars to discover the most satisfying level of crunch in a potato chips or the perfect amount of fish in a soda. Entire departments are dedicated to optimize how a product feels in our mouth, a quality known as also also sensation. French fries, for example, a potent combination of golden brown, crunchy on outside and light and smooth on inside. Other processed food enhance dynamic contrast, which refers to item with a combination of sensations like crunchy and creamy. Imagine the gooziness of melted cheese on the top of a crispy pizza crust, or the crunch of an Oreo cookie combined with a smooth center. Arey wow. Water is coming in my mouth. With a natural, unprocessed food, you tend to experience the same sensation over and over. How that seventh bite of a kale taste. After a few minutes, your brains lose interest and you begin to feel full. But foods that are high in dynamic contracts keep the experience novel and interesting, encouraging you to eat more. Ultimately, such strategies enable food scientists to find the bliss point of each product, the precise combination of salt, sugar, and fat that excite your brain and keep you coming back for more. The result, of course, is that you overeat because of hyperpalatable foods are more attractive to the human brain. Has Stefan Guynet, a neuroscientist who specialized in eating behavior and obesity, said, we ever got too good at pushing our own buttons. The modern food industry is an overeating habit. It is a spawned is just an example of the second law of behavior change. Make it attractive. The more attractive an opportunity is, the more likely it to be become habit forming. Look around. Society is filled with highly engineering version of reality that are more attractive than the world our ancestors involved in. Stores feature mannequins, mannequins and exaggerate hips and a bridge to sell clothes. Social media deliver more likes and praise in few minutes than we could ever get in the office or at home. Online porn splice together stimulus sense at a rate that would be impossible to replicate in real life. Advertisements are created with a combination of ideal lighting, professional makeup, and photoshopped edit. Even the models doesn't look like a person in a final image. These are the normal stimulus of our modern world. These exaggerated features that are attractive to us and our instincts go wild as a result, driving us to an excessive shopping habits, social media habits, porn habits, eating habits, and many others. If history served as a guide, the opportunity of the future will be more attractive than those of today. The trends is for reward to become more concentrated and stimulus to become more intense. Junk food is more concentrated form of calories than a natural food. Hard liquors are more concentrated form of alcohol than beer. Video games are more concentrated form of play than board games. Compared to nature, these plays, pleasure-packed experiences are hard to assist. We have the brain of our ancestors, but the temptations they never had to face. If you want to increase the odds that behavior will occur, then you need to make it attractive. Throughout our discussions of second law, our goal is to learn how to make our habit irresistible. While it is not possible to transform every habit into a supernormal stimulus, we can make any habit more integrating. To do this, we must start our understanding what a carving is and how it works. We begin by examining a biological signature that all habits share, the dopamine spike. A dopamine driven feedback loop. Scientists can track the precise moment a carving occurs by measuring a neurotransmitter called dopamine. The importance of the dopamine became apparent in 1954 with a neuroscientist James Olds. A Peter Melliner ran an experiment that revealed the neurological process behind carving and desire. By implementing electrodes in the brain of a rat, the research blocked the release of dopamine. To the surprise of scientists, the rat lost all live to will to live. They won't eat, they won't have sex, they didn't carve anything. Within a few days, the animal died of thirst. In follow up studies, other scientists also inhabited the dopamine releasing part of the brain. But this time, they squeezed little drop of sugar into the mouth of the dopamine depleted, depleted rat. Their little red face lit up with a pleasurable grin for the tasty substance. Even though dopamine was blocked, they liked the sugar just as much as before. They just didn't want it anymore. The ability to experience pleasures remained, but without dopamine, desire died. And without desire, action stopped. With others' research reversed this process and flooded the reward system of the brain with dopamine. Animals perform habit at breakneck speed. In one study, mice received a powerful hit of dopamine each time he poked their nose in a box. Within minutes, the mice developed a carb so strong they began poke their nose into the box 800 times per hour. Humans are not so different. The average slot machine's players will spin the wheel 600 times per hour. Habits are a dopamine driven feedback loop. Every behavior that is highly habit performing, taking drugs, eating junk food, playing video games, browsing social media, is associated with higher level of dopamine. The same can be used for most basic habitual behavior like eating food, drinking water, having sex, and interacting social media. For years, scientists assumed dopamine was all about pleasure, but now we know it's play a central role in many neurological processes, including motivation, learning, memory, punishment, and a average and voluntary movements. When it comes to habit, the key takeaway is this: dopamine is released not only when you experience pleasure, but also when you anticipating it. Gambling addicts have a dopamine spike right before they place a bet, not after they win. Cooking addict you a urge of dopamine when you see the powder, not after they take it. Whenever you predict an opportunity will be rewarding, your level of dopamine spike it anticipating, and whenever your dopamine rise, so that your motivation to act it. This is anticipation of reward, not the fulfillment of it, that gets us to action. Interestingly, the reward system that is activated in the brain when you receive a reward is the same system that is activated when you are anticipating a reward. This is the one reason the anticipation of experience can often feel better than in, than the attainment of it. As a child, thinking about a Christmas morning can be a better than opening the gifts. As an adult, daydreaming about an upcoming vacations can be more enjoyable than actually being on vacation. Scientists refer to this as the difference between wanting and liking. Your brain has far more neurological circuit allocation for wanting reward than for liking them. The wanting centers in the brain are large. The brain stem, nucleus accumbens, the ventral tegmental area, the Brochal striatum, the elegdema, and the portion of prefrontal cortex. By comparison, the liking centers of the brain are much smaller. They are often referred to as Hickdon hotspot and are disturbing like tiny islands throughout the brain. For instance, researchers has found that 100% of the nucleus accumbens is activated during one day. Meanwhile, only 10% of the structure is activated during liking. The fact that the brain allocates so much of precious space to the region responsible for carving and desire provide further evidence of the crucial role that the process play. Desire is engine that drives behavior. Every action is taken because of anticipating the preceding it. It is the carving that leads to the response. The insight reveals the importance of the second law of behavior change. We need to make our habit attractive because it is expectation of rewarding experience that motivate us to act in first place. This is where strategies known as temptation bundling come into play. Okay. How to use temptation bundling to make our habit more attractive. Okay. How to use temptation bundling to make our habit more attractive. I will try to finish this chapter. Okay. Ron Baring, an electrical engineer student in Dublin, Ireland, enjoyed watching Netflix, but he also knew that he should exercise more often than he did. Putting his engineering skills into use, Baron hacked his stationary bikes and connect it to the laptop and television. Then he wrote a computer program that al- would allow Netflix to run only if he was cycled in a certain speed. If he slowed down for too long, whatever show he was watching would pause until he start pedaling again. He was, in the word of one fan, eliminate obesity of one Netflix being at a time. He was also employing temptation bundling to make his exercise habit more attractive. Temptation bundling works by linking an actions you want to do with an action you need to do. In Baron case, he bundled watching Netflix, the thing he want to do, with riding his stationary bike, the things didn't he need to do. Business are master at temptation bundling. For instance, when an American broadcast company more commonly use ABC launch its Thursday night television lineup for the 2014-15 season, they promote temptation bundling on a massive scale. Every Thursday, the company would air three shows created by screenwriters Shonda Rhimes, Gray Anthony Sandel, and How to Get Away with Murder. The brand they branded it as Ticked on ABC. Ticked stand for Thank God That's Thursday. In addition to promote the show, ABC encouraged viewers to make popcorn, drink red wine, and enjoy the evening. Andrew Kilbitz, each of head of scheduling for ABC, described the idea behind the campaign. We see Thursday nights has a viewership opportunity with either couples or women by themselves who want to sit down and escape and have fun and drink their red wine and have some popcorns. The brilliance of this strategy is that ABC was associate the thing they needed the viewer to do to watch their show with attractive their viewers already want to do: relax, drink wine, and eat popcorn. Over time, the people began to connect watching ABC with the feeling relaxing and entertaining. If you drink red wine or eat popcorn at 8 p.m. every Thursday, then eventually 8 p.m. on the Thursday means relaxing and entertaining. The reward get associated with the cue, and the habits turned on television become more attractive. You are more likely to find a behavior attractive if you get to do one of our favorite thing at the same time. One of the favorite. Perhaps you want to hear about the latest celebrity gossip, but you need to get in shape. Using temptation bundling, you could read the tabloids on watch reality show at the gym. You may maybe you want to get an pedicure, but you need to clean out your email box. Solution: only get pedicure while processing overdue work emails. Temptations bundling is one way to apply a psychological theory known as Premax principle, named after the work of Professor David Premack. The principle states that more probable behavior will reinforce less probable behavior. In other words, even if you don't really want to process overdue work emails, you become conditioned to do if it means you to get to do something you really want to do along the way. You can combine the temptation bundling with the habit stacking strategy we discuss in chapter number 5 to create set of rules to guide our behavior. Habit stacking plus temptation bundling is a formula. If current habit I need, after I habit I want. If you want to read newspaper but you need to express more gratitude, after I get in my morning coffee, I will say one thing I am grateful for that happening yesterday need. After I say one thing I am grateful for, I will read the newspaper want. If you want to watch sport but you need to make a sales call, after I get back my lunch break, I will call three potential client needed. After I call three potential client, I will check ESPN one. If you want to check Facebook but you need to exercise more, after I pull out my phone, I will do 10 burpees need. After I do 10 burpees, I check Facebook. The hope is eventually you are look forward to call three clients or doing 10 burpees because it means to get get to read the latest sport news or check Facebook. Doing the things you need to do means you get to do the things you wanted to do. We began the chapter by discussing supernormal stimulus, which are light lightness version of reality that that increase our desire to take actions. Temptation bundling is one of the way to create highest version of any habit by connecting it with something you really want. Engineering is truly irresistible habit is a hard task, but these simple strategies can employed to make nearly any habit more attractive than it would be otherwise. Chapter summary. The second law of behavior change is to make it obvious. The more attractive an opportunity is, the more likely it to become habit forming. Habits are the dopamine driven feedback loop. When dopamine rises, so does our motivation to act. This is the anticipation reward, not fulfillment of it, that get us to an action. The greater the anticipation, the greater the dopamine spike. Temptation bundling is one way to make our habit more attractive. The strategy is to pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do. Okay, now in 9 8th chapter is over. How to make our habit irresistible by temptation bundling. This is the method. By uh, by habit stacking and temptation bundling, both method. How to make habit attractive. This is also one way. The dopamine driven feedback loop. We have to eat. We are hungry. Again eat. Again eat. Again eat. We are doing so and so things. But we have to take care of our own self. The role of a family and friends in shaping our habits. This is the 9th chapter. We will continue tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.